On today's video, does Isaiah Pacheco have a fumbling problem? Is Patrick Mahomes back on top of the MVP race? And is the defense really as bad as they look? We're going to talk about all that and more. Stick around.
7-time AFC West champions, the Chiefs are right back on top of the conference where they live at these days. They might as well rename the conference the AFC Chiefs, but it didn't come easy. They had a tough game against the Texans today. Pacheco, he fumbled the ball again. That's his fourth fumble this year. Mike, does he have a fumbling problem?
Yes and no. He's a rookie, man. He's going to go through these lumps. I don't think it's that big of an issue. I know Andy kind of decided to not instantly go right back to him. It was more of like a slap on the wrist, like, hey, we've done this a few times. Let's get it together. I noticed he went to Rojo, who also has a fumbling problem. But I'd like to see Rojo get more carries other than when Pacheco's just in the doghouse, which is really strange. But
you could just tell. They don't want Rojo on the field. They really don't. They use him the bare minimum.
Yeah, it's really strange. I don't understand that. But Pacheco on the day looked pretty solid. 15 carries for 86 yards. Not too bad. We actually put up a poll on Twitter and said, hey, is Isaiah Pacheco still RB1 here, or has Jerick McKinnon surpassed him, and should he now be RB1? The poll is just now still going, but it's 65% in favor of Jerick McKinnon being RB1 at this point. It's looking like Chiefs Kingdom's what have you done for me lately kind of bunch.
They absolutely are. And you know what? If Isaiah Pacheco had scored the game-winning touchdown and not Jerick McKinnon, that would be flip-flopped completely. It's all about, the flashy stuff. But I don't think that Jerick McKinnon has took over RB1 per se or whatever. I think that he's going to continue to contribute the way he has been. He's dangerous in the passing game and the running game. He's just a good player. He's a good fit for our offense. But Isaiah Pacheco is the man. Like, I'm telling you, he's got to secure the ball a little bit more. And people like Wiley have got to quit getting knocked into the backfield and causing fumbles. But if he can secure that ball and make them confident that this is not going to be an issue with him going forward, I mean, he runs all over teams, man. He runs hard. He had a great day. And I do feel like that, they let McKinnon vulture a lot of his work too. You'll see Pacheco, run the ball all the way down the field and they get in the red zone and they pull him out and put in McKinnon, who gets the glory in the touchdowns. But not taking anything away from Jerick McKinnon, because he did play great today and he was clutch. So
yeah, I'm firmly with you. I think Pacheco is still RB1. McKinnon has looked good. But I actually tweeted today that Pacheco is the closer. And it was so weird that we – there when we let Butker kick and he missed the field goal, it was like a 3rd and short, and we don't have Pacheco on the field after he just proved last week versus Denver. These inside running yards should have been easy to pick up, and they've got him off the field. Pacheco can also catch the ball out of the backfield as well, so that's not like anything that takes away from his game. So it's just very strange. Like, they always go to McKinnon, and then it was kind of funny that McKinnon actually closed the game out with the long run. Made me eat the words a little bit, but that's not what I was trying to get to. Like, I don't think McKinnon's not capable of doing the job. I just feel like when you got a big bruising back like Pacheco, he needs to be in the game on these short yardage situations. But instead of us trying it on 3rd and 4, we tried to take a deep shot there, which was insane. But yeah, let's move on to Mahomes. He had a monstrous day today, man. Like, he looked so good in his return to Texas. And what did you think about it, Steve? Like, do you think he done enough to be back on top as the MVP frontrunner?
Yeah, I think Mahomes definitely did enough to get back on top of that MVP race. He had a really great game. I think if it wasn't for some little things like the turnovers and stuff, he could have had one of his biggest games to date. He was throwing the ball very efficiently. He had 313 passing yards, 87.8% completion rate. So he was kind of, throwing it on him at will. He did miss a big throw to MVS downfield. One concern I've had with Mahomes this year is his downfield accuracy don't look very good. It doesn't look like he usually does, and it doesn't look, as good as some of the other quarterbacks in the league. I don't know if that's just something just a little off there, or if it's just, me overthinking that. But I feel like his downfield accuracy has definitely been left a lot to be desired so far.
I think it's new receivers, timing, things like that. We've seen him make a heck of a throw out of the end zone today, and Justin Watson drops it out of his hands. So other than that, man, I would think, Patrick Mahomes had a great day today. Like you said, I think it could have been one of his best games as a Chief. There was a time he completed, I want to say, like 18 straight, 20 straight. I don't remember what it was. It was insane, but he was catching the ball. Kelsey had 10 targets, 10 receptions. Juju, 8 targets, 8 receptions. Like, the ball just wasn't hitting the ground. I think Jerick McKinnon had 8 for 8 or something like that. So, yeah, it's just one of those days for Mahomes. I don't feel like he pressed as much today, which is kind of odd because we talked about how they're so depleted and so bad. This was a game that he probably could have pressed on more often. But I do believe there were just times that, I'm not gonna critique him for actually taking what the defense gives him. I'm actually proud of him, and you see that it worked. What I did notice in the game was that when we started relying on the run a lot more there in that first, second, third drive, somewhere in that range, we marched the ball down the field at will on these guys, and like, it was so weird that we started the game off with 10 straight like passes or something like that.
Knew that was coming. You knew it was coming. We talked about it. Even Kylie said it. Like, they're going to abandon the run game right off the bat. I will give them credit. They did run the ball quite a bit today. 33 carries for 189 yards. But what does that tell you guys? They could run the ball. I understand this is a bad defense, but I mean, they can run the ball like this on a lot of teams, and they just don't do it. But either way, Mahomes, excellent day, and yeah, I think he's back on top of that MVP race. Jalen Hurts had a decent game today, but they struggled with the Bears. So I mean, the Chiefs weren't the only good team in the league struggling today with a lesser team. It just happens in the NFL, and we have a reasoning for that. But yeah, I think he's back on top.
So moving on, let's talk about this defense a little bit, man. It looked as though a bad team put up a lot of points on a defense. And so we were like, man, here comes the Spags hate. It's going to continue. But we started deep diving a little bit. And is the defense really as bad as we think, Steve? Or what happened today, man?
So this defense definitely has its flaws. There's a lot left to be desired in the middle of the field. Teams can pick apart the middle of the field. That's just all there is to it. It's very soft. Our pass rush, they've left a lot to be desired as well. So I think there's some things that they could definitely get better at and they can improve at. And we are missing some big things. I don't look at this defense and be like, man, that's a Super Bowl winning defense. Like, they're excellent. But I also don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. They only let up 219 yards of offense and still managed to let up 24 points. So there's two things here. Two things are true in this situation. One is that our red zone defense isn't all that great, and there's a lot of soft spots in this defense that teams can pick apart. We do let up a lot of scores that we shouldn't, and we don't shut teams down. We do the bend don't break, but we break a lot.
Didn't they show a graphic during the game that said the Chiefs had the highest red zone defense in the league?
Yeah, but in the last couple of weeks is what I'm talking about. So like, against the Broncos and against the Texans, they found a way to get the ball in the end zone. But I'll be quite honest with you. The reason why this defense looked bad today is because the referees, Carl Cheffers and his crew, has a clear vendetta against the Kansas City Chiefs. It is absolutely unreal that they're allowed to keep doing what they're doing. Nothing gets said. And it's also unreal to me that Andy Reid don't go to midfield strip naked and just lose his mind on some of this stuff. Why do they keep letting this happen? I don't understand how anyone can just sit to the sideline and continuously watch the BS. It's a complete sham. It's not even close. It's not questionable calls. It is absolute garbage. They're just making stuff up on the fly. The Juju thing, they gave them the ball on a fumble from Juju that was ruled dead by forward progress. By rule, you cannot review that. By NFL rule, you cannot review that. But they do it anyway, and then they go on Twitter and they make up a new rule. That, well, this is why we did it. And then also the same play. A blindside block from Jerick McKinnon with a guy that he's looking eye to eye with. That was the stupidest thing I've ever. Like, this stuff's out of control. The NFL officiating is out of control. All they want to do is keep people in a certain point spread. Vegas has got to be involved at this point. Otherwise, everyone's just losing their minds. Am I wrong? But that's why this defense let up 24 points today. It wasn't because they played terribly. They only let up 219 yards of total offense. They didn't run the ball well. They didn't pass the ball well. But they scored 24 points, and that's because there was 102 yards of penalties against that defense.
Look, I don't know how far this goes inside the NFL, but there definitely needs to be an outside source be called in and start to have an audit on this. When there's money on the line and these officials and the NFL as an entertainment company is not holding anyone accountable, they're not offering legit reasons, they're making every call a judgment call. There's a reason they're making everything a judgment call, guys. It's that way you can't argue it because everybody sees everything differently. But if you go back to the thing, there was a bad call on Thornhill. They said pass interference. No pass interference. Snead got called for a pass interference. No pass interference. Kelsey is getting manhandled. The guy won't get off of him, and Kelsey gets the penalty to try to stall the drive. Thornhill got called for another one where the receiver just runs right into him. I mean,
Isaiah Pacheco had his face ripped, his helmet ripped off by his face mask. No face mask call.
Bad call after bad call.
Hey, not to mention, Patrick Mahomes gets absolutely choke slammed after he done gave himself up.
Right.
No call.
That was a complete fraud of a call right there. If that was anybody else, that'd probably stop the game. If that was Joe Burrow, oh my God, that guy would have been ejected. It's that
they would
simple.
Cancel football.
Yeah. So we've called it out every single time that we've started this channel. We've called it out that the Chiefs always get screwed over when it comes to calls. You can't keep it close. You can't keep it within striking distance because the officials will get you, and they do not call the game the same way. Patrick Mahomes does not get the same QB treatment as everybody else. Our DBs are not allowed to touch anyone because they will get it, whereas offensive players will push them off. Their defensive players will hold. Nothing is concrete anymore. Pass interference is defined differently for whatever jersey you're wearing. Defensive holding depends on the jersey. Roughing the passer depends on the helmet logo. It's getting old. There needs to be a full-on audit. Carl Cheffers needs to be fired after this game to allow that crew to be so bad. And that's all there is to it. You can sway a game with 2 or 3 timely penalties. And these were extending drives, putting points on the board. This has happened to us all year long. It just never stops. All we hear about is the Chiefs fans just complain more than anybody else. Well, if you had to deal with the officiating, we did, bro. Like, come on, just shut up about that.
Look, I have 2 things to say about this whole thing. I have 2 things to say about it. If you don't think there's something funny going on with the refereeing this year, the officiating, go back, watch the end of the Buffalo-Miami game, watch the end of the Tampa Bay-Cincinnati game, and watch those couple of drives in the Chiefs-Texans game and tell me that this is all legit. Because something is wrong. Something does not pass the smell test. It is so bad, it cannot be real. That's just all there is to it. Something's wrong.
I'm willing to bet 90% of the games in the NFL this year, there's been some kind of a game swaying call within the final last 2 or 3 drives of every game that an official has dictated the outcome. Players are to play. You're supposed to let them play in these situations. We're setting up a precedent that now you're just going to be able to launch the ball in the end zone at the final play, and they're probably going to call something, whereas they usually
underthrow
it. Play.
Just underthrow it, and you're going to get a flag. That's what they've set as a precedent this year. If you underthrow the ball, it's an automatic pass interference. And also, I have one more thing to say as well.
Go ahead.
I want to see how serious the NFL is about bad officiating and obviously biased officiating. If they put Carl Cheffers and his crew back on a Kansas City Chiefs game in this season, especially the playoffs, they don't care. They do not care. They hold no one accountable, and they don't care if they screw over a team.
They're probably trying to do the screw job if that's what they do. But I'm with you. You mentioned that Andy Reid makes millions of dollars. You know, this is what I say. He makes millions of dollars. I would lose 20,000. I'd lose 50,000. It meant I went to a press conference and stuck up for my team and called Carl Cheffers the fraud that he is. I stick up for my players, and Andy should do the same. Let's not be scared to death. And the fact that they are so scared to talk about it, that is how much the NFL's got a chokehold on these teams. It's to the point that we're not allowed to hold them responsible for anything, which means they are trying to sway stuff. And the one thing I was going to say, you've seen the most improbable stuff happen game in, game out. The fact that the Colts can be up 33-0 and then magically in the second half, they don't know how to play football. The Chiefs, in the past 6 quarters of football, have been outscored. Listen to this. 52-37 against 2 of the worst teams to ever play football. Like somehow a 10-3 team that had just clinched the best division ever comes out and magically can't play football against, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, this is the improbable happening over and over, and everybody just turns a blind eye and says, man, this is entertaining. Yep, you're getting it. You got the entertainment that they filed for.
Well, this just kind of bleeds us over into our next topic, and that is coaching and the team playing down to their opponent. The main thing that I'm noticing with this team right now, and I think it starts with the coach, is that they are not tough. They allow things to happen to them. There's no fight in this team. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. If you watch your quarterback get manhandled and choke slammed by somebody, no flag comes out, and you don't make sure that guy's hurt before the game's over, you're doing your quarterback a disservice. Like he should have been absolutely slaughtered.
Forget before the game's over. Like right then and there. If
Yeah.
I was an
Like first
offensive
of all,
lineman, I'd have took him
if
out.
right, if you're not going to stand up to it when it happens, you're just going to allow it. At least do something about it, in the next play or two. But this is insane, guys. I'm watching this team get bullied by teams. I'm watching them get blatant bad calls, and the coach just sits on the sidelines
Look,
and twiddles his thumbs.
look,
Like they have to grow some balls here.
you're right. The NFL bullies us. The 1-11 Texans were bullying us all day long. Nobody fears playing the Chiefs anymore. We're not feared anymore. Do you think anybody that's going to the AFC playoffs looked at our team today and said, well, I don't want to play the Chiefs? No way. They're just going to come out and bully us because they know the NFL is going to allow it. The NFL is going to pile on and bully us. And, they do what they want. So, I don't know.
But here's my thing: is everybody's like, "Oh, what are you going to do about it?" What are you going to do about it? You just have to be classy and all this stuff. And it's like, it's not that, but you've got to stand up and do something. If you're going to sit there and get bullied the whole game, and you refuse to stand up for even yourself or your teammate, you have a problem. And then on top of that, if the coach is going to allow the referees to just bend you over and make a mockery of you on the field, and why is it that football is the only sport where the coaches don't get kicked out of games? Like they don't lose their mind and make a statement. Every other sport, a coach will make a statement on a bad call. And if you notice, sometimes it makes a difference. The rest of the game's called more fairly. But in football, they just stand there and take it. It is unreal. And I don't expect Big Red to actually get on the field and strip naked and act crazy. I don't. But he's got to do something. He's got to get out there, get on the field, do something, make it known. Like, I'm not going to stand for this BS anymore. Like it's got to stop.
Right.
I mean, make a statement.
Put a 15-yard penalty on them. I don't care. Put a $20,000.
Kick them out of the game. Who cares?
Dude, if I was the coach, I would critique this. And if they said, dude, that's 50,000, I'd be like, make it 100,000. Carl Cheffers sucks.
Right.
And I don't care. I don't even care at this point. You either care more about your money in your bank account or you care about your players and your team. I'm more on that, that whole route. But we put up a poll on YouTube, man, and we asked, are you guys concerned going into week 16 with this team? 62% says, oh my God, yes, this is crazy. 38% of you guys still are just making excuses saying a win is a win. Guys, look, you're allowed to be happy that we won the game. You are allowed to be happy that we just clinched our 7th straight AFC West championship. But look, you also, as a fan, can be concerned too. This team is concerning. When we watch what we've seen today, we were getting bullied by the worst team in football, guys. For most of that game, we had to go to overtime to beat the Texans, guys. I get it. Every team is good. With the parity in this league, though, if you're not going to stand up for your players when the NFL starts coming in and making those timely calls, that is going to flip a game with the parity in this league. We've said it time and time again. You either put your foot on their neck and you choke them out and you make it to where the officials can't cause the problems, or if you want to stick around, then Carl Cheffers happens.
The coaches have to do a better job of having this team ready to play. They've been super dead. They haven't scored a touchdown in the last 5 games in the first quarter. That's unreal because the Chiefs have always been a team that starts hot and gets ahead and plays with a lead. Now, granted, you can say that, they, all through their Super Bowl run, they made comebacks and they make comebacks as well. But I mean, for the most part, overall, this is a team that likes to play from the front. And then, of course, Andy's always taking his foot off the gas and all that stuff. They have to have this team ready to play. That's something that they've got to do. The play calling, I will give it to them. They ran the ball more today. They stuck with it more. I don't think the play calling was terrible today. I did see some that made me want to pull, some of my hair out. But overall, I don't know how you guys can't be a little bit concerned. If nothing else concerns you, it should concern you that the referees are allowed to do what they do to the Chiefs, but you see what they let Josh Allen get away with, what they let Joe Burrow get away with, what they call for those guys. That should concern you going into the playoffs, the fact that the Chiefs can get railroaded and these other teams are handed things on silver platters. And they're both in our conference. We will play one of them in the playoffs.
Hey,
99%
play
chance,
all of them
or both. And that should concern you. It really should. That shows you right there who they're kind of wanting in that Super Bowl.
This is what concerns me, and then we'll move on to game balls. I think that the Chiefs offense coming out and 9 turnovers, 1 turnover in 9 straight games. That's what I meant to say. A turnover in 9 straight games. That's concerning. Our offense has got to stop turning the ball over, especially if you guys want to pile on our defense and say our defense is horrible. Well, if the defense is bad, we can't turn the ball over and keep giving the defense more problems added on. So, yes, the coaches have to do better. There's got to be better game calling across the board, offense and defense. We have to start doing things better. And for God's sakes, just fire the team up and get them playing effort and stop playing down to opponents. This is going to kill us. Matter of fact, the Seahawks are going to run all of our Christmas next week if we come out and pull this crap on them, because you better believe Pete Carroll has his guys playing. And again, we're going to be their Super Bowl because they're probably out of all kind of playoff contention. So they're just trying to play spoiler.
All right, it's time to give away some game balls, Mike. So I'm going to go ahead and let you do an offensive player, a defensive player, and then I'll do the same.
I'm going to give my offensive game ball to Patrick Mahomes. He looked good today. Again, 36 for 41. He only had 5 incompletions. He went for 336, 2 touchdowns, had a rushing touchdown, but most importantly, 0 turnovers today for Patrick Mahomes. He looked really good. On the defensive side of the ball, you know what? I'm going to give it to Frank Clark. I thought Frank Clark looked pretty good. He caused that turnover there at the end of the game. He knocked the ball out of the QB's hands. He got a sack today. After the game, he come out and he acknowledged yet again that, hey, we got some stuff to work on, guys. We're working on it, I promise, and you guys have a right to come at us, but just know we're going to continue to work, and that's what I want to see, some accountability, and that's all I want to see, man. You can have a bad day, but own up to it. So those are going to be my 2 game balls.
All right, my offensive game ball is going to Jerick McKinnon, man. He was clutch today. He had 2 big touchdowns, including that game-winning touchdown. Jerick McKinnon seems to get the job done when he needs to. He's been Mr. Johnny on the spot this year. When we need a big play, he can make it happen. Moving over to the defense, I was trying to be different than you by picking McKinnon, but then you turn around and pick my defensive player. I'm taking Frank Clark as well for the same reason. Totally clutch today. Causing that fumble there in overtime saved us the game, because I almost have a feeling the refs were going to walk them down there to a field goal. So big time play by Frank Clark, and he looks good a lot of the day as well. I'll also give a little nod to George Karlaftis. He looked well today too in the pass rush.
You know who I thought looked pretty decent? I want to give him some credit because we've been hard on him. I thought Leo Chanel had his best day as a professional today. I think he had 4 tackles, 5 tackles. He made a big one there. I want to say a tackle for a loss at one point. I thought Leo was actually put in some good snaps today, and I want to give him a little credit because we have been hard on Leo.
Agreed. So Patrick Mahomes looked good in his return to Texas, and we talked about what it was going to take for him to look good in this video right here. Make sure to watch that. See how good or bad our predictions were for this game. Leave some comments. Let us know how you feel. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell, and we will catch you tomorrow, Chiefs Kingdom.
Peace. See you guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.